Hey there, Ron Sullivan, your online hitting consultant, and I have to admit that this video, probably like a lot of my videos, I'm not going to make a lot of fans, right? Because most people on YouTube I've found these days are searching for people that they already believe or they already agree with, right? Oh, that guy's saying the same thing that my other guy's saying. Oh, good, I'll watch this just so I can agree with everything. I hope that some of you, even if you disagree with what I'm saying at times, right, can maybe learn something as I try to learn something from people I disagree with all the time, right? And one of the things that I disagree with ultimately, because I work with a lot of young players, right, especially players that are transitioning from coach pitch to kid pitch, right, because I've got the reputation in this area for being able to rebuild a swing and get a kid ready for the next level, right? The coach is no longer throwing the ball at your bat. You've got to make some adjustments. And baseball, fundamentally speaking, is all about working shorter and quicker to the ball. Okay? Now, I know some people don't like that language because it doesn't agree with what you hear a lot of times, but that's a fundamental principle to the game, is that we have to work shorter and quicker to the ball, right? That's something we have to learn from this student on the left to where he is in the middle, is he's learning the proper transitioning of not leaving the barrel in his hands behind, right? He's trying to learn to work to the inside. You see that really plainly, and where his hands are in relationship to the ball in the middle, and where his hands are in relationship to the ball on the left, he's always swinging his hands around the ball, right? So, now, in part of the transition, right, we learn things that perhaps we may not use down the road to a certain extent, right? So what do I teach this player on the left? Well, I can't teach him to swing, or I would even begin to approach, hey, let's get on plane early to a 9-year-old, right? That's going, that would blow his mind. He'd be like, oh, I got to lay the barrel down to get on plane. No, he already tries to lay the barrel down, right? So what do I have to do? Well, I have to, in the transition of this young player, I have to learn to teach him to work quicker to the ball, shorter to the ball, stay inside of the ball, and all those things. Does that ultimately mean, I guess, that he's going to use that his entire life? Well, I hope so. But I suppose that he could develop some other patterns where, like a Javier Baez, that doesn't necessarily stay inside of the ball, right? He may find things that work for him as he becomes more proficient in the game. But in the middle, this isn't about proficiency. This is about learning, right? This isn't about I've taken 20,000 swings in my career. This is a player that's learning how the game works and working shorter to the ball. Now, working from on top, I think that we can see that in the middle and on the left that this player is in a completely different position. And I think a lot of people, particularly if you watch a lot of YouTube videos, you would say that this player is coming in too steep from on top. Well, you know what? I would probably agree with that. But knowing where this young man is in his development, I think he's exactly where he needs to be in learning how to work short and work from on top instead of working out and around and underneath, right? Now, I don't want this player to hit balls on the ground to second base, okay? I do not want that for this player. Chances are, if he's late on a ball in this swing in the middle, in other words, or if he tries to hit on the inside of his foot, right, I think he's probably going to hit the top of the ball. No doubt about it. He's probably going to pound the ball into the ground. Right? So this is part of the transition, though, is we're learning to work short to the ball. Now, if you look at the difference between the young man in the middle and the young man on the right, all the timing's a little bit different on these, but nonetheless, you're going to see a difference in hand position. It's not a difference in swing. It's the same approach that I taught to the kid in the middle and the one on the right, but the hand position is completely different. So the player on the right is learning, or is basically, I think, doing what the player in the middle is doing, but he's starting with his hands in a lower slot. Now, for those of you that think, well, his hands are too low, right? I'm going to use an example of Mickey Moniak here, right, to show that Mickey Moniak hits both the positions that you see in the middle and on the right. But what kids do normally is what you see in the middle. They start with their hands up by their ears because somebody told them to, right? And their elbows are dangling underneath their hands, just like you see here with Mickey Moniak. But what they normally don't do is transition into a better slot to get their hands in a position where they can drive. Or, I should say, we can get behind the ball easier. So again, I think these swings are exactly the same to a certain degree. They're exactly the same. It's just coming in from a steeper angle on top because of where their hands started, right? So the transition that I'll use for this player in the middle is very simple at this point. He's passed the test of learning to work from on top. Now we'll begin to lower his hands into a slot where he's going to be able to get behind the ball much easier, right? It's an easy fix, and this player has learned important rules about hitting, right? Not that we're trying to hit balls on the ground a second, but he's learned to work shorter to the ball, right? In fact, the timing may be a little bit different. When you see he gets to the ball much quicker, when you're just using your hands, you can get to the ball quicker. You're just not going to have a whole lot of butt behind it, right? Because you're just slapping at it with your hands, right? Anytime you see a swing where you see everything above his elbows is basically hitting the ball, right? You probably even go up further than this, right? These are the muscles he's using to hit right there, right? Whereas the lower or the better slot position where you see here that my man over here on the right's in, he's dedicated his swing now. He's going to use all those muscles that are so-called rotating through, right? They're now going to be behind the barrel, which is ultimately where our power is going to come from, not the way that you see in the middle. But all three phases here, right? And look, the kid on the right, he's got work to do. They're all 9 years old, right? But nonetheless, right, these are the transitions that I think a lot of hitting instructors will use. It won't be used on YouTube very much, right? Guys will just say, that's wrong, and that kid's being taught how to push the bat and all this kind of stuff. What do you teach the kid on the left? What do you teach the kid on the left? Do you teach him to get on plane early, swing the barrel around our body, all that stuff? No, I don't, because I'm trying to transition the player into understanding fundamentally how the game works. What is our goal when we're hitting? We've got to work short to the ball, right? And then as he transitions to the next level, we'll get his hands perhaps in a better slot. But he's got to learn to work from on top. Not on top of the ball, but learn how to work, particularly this young man. He's got to learn to keep his balance and posture on top of the ball a little bit longer instead of out and around the ball. All right, guys, thanks.